The Steelers have reached the unofficial midway point of this season, and they are riding high atop the AFC North with a 6-2 record. The bye week means no game for the team, but our crew is here breaking down the season to this point. You are watching Steelers Kickoff live from KDKA TV.
Welcome to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Good morning, everyone, and happy bye week Sunday for you. Glad you can join us here in the KDKA TV studios for another edition of this program, the Steelers Kickoff. Bob Pompeani alongside the quarterback of the program, Mr. Charlie Batch, as usual. On bye weeks, they keep on working, and that's what we're here to do. We have a special guest with us as well today. Charlie's former teammate, Super Bowl champ, and current CBS NFL analyst, Bryant McFadden from Connecticut. So, B-Mac, welcome to you. We're going to get to you in a second, but Charlie, I want to start with you first. The Steelers are 6-2, and to me, they did what they had to do, which was the easiest part of their schedule, build up some scheduling insurance at 6-2. That'll change in the second half of the season. What's your overall take on the Steelers, where they are right now at this bye week?
This is where I thought they were going to be, and it was important to get off to a fast start, something you always talk about. So to get to the 6-2 point at the halfway mark, easily could have been 7-1. They were only seconds away from doing that if they could have made that defensive stop against the Cowboys. But either way, they set themselves up nicely as they enter in November, and I think they all should feel confident right now as far as where they're at.
All right, B-Mac, what about you? Your overall takeaway from the first 8 games of this season?
I'm loving what I'm seeing. To Charlie's point, when you get to the halfway mark, you want to be above 500 and not barely above 500. So for the Steelers to be currently 6-2, that's a great sign, because if you look at all the adverse situations they had to deal with, right? Not having your starting quarterback, so many key components missing on the offensive line, having injuries on the defensive side as well, but you still found ways to win ball games with backup players. So they have significant depth, which is encouraging. Not to mention, now they're starting to get healthier, which is more encouraging as well.
Yeah, perfect time for a bye week as well. And since Russell Wilson became the starter, the offense has really been much more efficient. Do you think his ability to throw opens up the run game also, Charlie?
It does, and there's not much that Russell Wilson hasn't seen yet, right? There's one thing with experience, but you talk about someone with playoff and Super Bowl experience. So he's able to get to the line of scrimmage, make sure that the offense is in the correct play, and if the pass is there, that's one thing. But once you remove a defender from the box, he's going to get you to that run, and ultimately that allows that running game to get going with Najee Harris, 3 consecutive games at 100-yard rushing, and where he is at this particular point, he is comfortable because that allows that play action game to get going. So I love where Russell Wilson is at right now.
All right, the other big reason this team has found success has been the defense. You would expect that, specifically T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. When these two are on the field, they're one of the 2 most dangerous duos you're going to find. Over 50 tackles between the two, nearly 10 sacks as well. And this is with Highsmith missing 3 games, not even to mention Nick Herbig here, who's been out with injury. Bryant, as a guy who knows about covering receivers down the field, how important is that pass rush from both sides to the overall defense?
It's very, very important. Here's why. When you have 2 dominant edge rushers or guys in the back end, they know quarterbacks won't have enough time to really be comfortable to go through their progressions. So usually those quarterbacks will be throwing the football when they're not ready to throw the football to avoid the sacks, and that puts you in a position to make plays. And when you look at the pass rush and how relentless they've been, we've seen turnovers in the back end. We've seen interceptions. We've seen guys getting their hands on footballs. That is super important when you talk about having success on all 3 levels. We have 2 of the best pass rushing experts in the National Football League. And to your point, Bob, Highsmith has missed time. Herbig has missed time. What will it look like when we have that 3-headed monster healthy and ready to go? We're getting ready to find out in the second half of this season after the bye.
Yeah, pick your poison if you're a defense. Who are you going to double? And most times it's going to be T.J. Watt. Now it's time for Charlie's weekly quarterback analysis, which is brought to you by Cleveland Brothers. And Charlie, a lot has been made about Wilson's ability to complete long passes down the field. What makes his deep ball better than most?
Well, with him, he has one of the ones, he's able to put air on the football down the field. And once the receiver sets the angle as it relates to where he's going, Russ is able to deliver that football. Beautiful throw right there. When that happened live to that throw with George Pickens in the corner route, that was one thing all I could do is say, wow. But when you do that, the receivers now know you're going to give him a chance down the field, and when you do that, he's going to take those shots. That's why you're seeing Van Jefferson there. That's why you're seeing Calvin Austin all being a part of it, something we didn't talk about prior to him being in the lineup.
Right, people talk about the need of wide receiver. Well, the need was to get the ball in their hands, and they certainly have done that with Russell Wilson. Plenty of action and excitement so far this season. I can't believe we're halfway through the year already. Rich Walsh is standing by with a look back on the first 8 weeks. Rich.
All right, thanks, Bob. It may not have been what fans expected, but the Steelers have found themselves in a pretty nice situation at the bye week, currently at the top of the AFC North and in prime playoff positioning. Let's take a look back to see how they got here. An off-season of change brought a new-look Steelers squad into the 2024 season. Quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Justin Fields were the biggest differences. But with Wilson on the shelf due to a lingering calf injury, Fields was called into action and given a 6-game slate to see how he could lead this offense. Early season road wins over Atlanta and Denver showed the Steelers had enough in the tank offensively to be competitive. But the defense, anchored by the likes of T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Cam Hayward, made all the difference.
Cousins from a collapsing pocket, throws an interception. Dante Jackson.
I think for us, it's just something we can build on, something we can say, we can go on the road and win games, but now we got a challenge to win at home.
A statement win took place at Acrisure Stadium in Week 3 when Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers came to town with the #1 rushing offense. And the Steelers defense was up to the task. Justin Herbert was suppressed and eventually knocked out of the contest with an injury. And the Steelers offense ran up the score to secure win number 3.
2nd and 7. Austin cuts ahead. Austin to the 20. Foot race to the 10. He's across for the touchdown.
I'm thankful for the efforts of the men. I'm thankful to be 3-0. It's good to be in good contests like this, man. Good on good, 5-star matchups, if you will, and come out on the other side. There's growth in it.
Tough setbacks marred the Steelers' momentum in weeks 4 and 5. Despite a decent game from Justin Fields, a cold defensive start along with some offensive miscues against the Colts put that game on ice. Then as Pittsburgh looked for a bounce-back win in prime time, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys orchestrated a game-winning drive to edge the Steelers on Sunday Night Football.
When you look at this game, you're kicking yourself because you missed some golden opportunities. But that's why you play a 17-game season.
The team then returned on the road for a trap game in Las Vegas. But the Steelers handled business in the desert, posting 30 points for the first time all season. 4-2 in the field. Steelers' offensive era was good, but not good enough for the Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, who decided it was time to let Russ cook on Sunday Night Football against the Jets. Not only did he cook, but Najee Harris once again emerged for back-to-back 100-plus yard performances, and the Steelers defense gained an upper advantage on Aaron Rodgers thanks to undrafted free agent Beanie Bishop. Wilson and the Steelers hosted the Giants on Monday Night Football this past week, and the offense picked up where it left off. The defense came up with timely, game-changing plays, and Danny Smith's special teams unit stole the stage again, propelling Pittsburgh to a 6-2 record at the bye week.
We got tremendous football players, guys who just believe in the guys we got. We got some special guys, and their work ethic is really remarkable. What makes it fun, to be honest with you, to play quarterback here and to be around such tremendous, guys who love the game of football.
Time to take a look at our South College game plan for the remaining Steelers schedule. Next week, the team visits the Commanders, led by rookie Jaden Daniels. Then the Steelers return home to face the Ravens before Thursday Night Football in Cleveland. Then on the road in Cincinnati, home against the Browns. Road games in Philly and Baltimore on a Saturday before the Christmas Day game on Wednesday afternoon from Acrisure Stadium. Finally, the Bengals come to town on a date and time to be determined. The back portion of the schedule is a grind, to say the least, and one of the hardest slates to end a regular season that this team has ever seen. The bye week rest and recovery for some Steelers will be critical to keep them competitive into December. Guys?
All right, Rich, thanks very much. We're just getting started here on Steelers Kickoff, bye week edition. When we come back, we're going to have a deeper dive into the Steelers offense right after this timeout.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Earlier this week, Landon Roberts and Calvin Austin III helped moderate a forum at the August Wilson Center, downtown Pittsburgh. This event was focused on helping raise awareness about the impact of the justice system on children. And with that, we welcome you back to Steelers Kickoff Bye-Week Edition. Time to look at the offense so far this season. And Hyundai, by the numbers, suggests the Steelers are doing okay on that side of the football, especially recently. 15th in points per game, 16th yards per game. The pass yards are a little deceiving because since Wilson took over, he's averaging more than 270 yards through the air so far. So now that you've seen Wilson in action for 2 starts, it looks like the quarterback change by Mike Tomlin was the correct move. Do you think Fields may still have a role in this, Charlie?
I really do, and you're going to need him at some point. But again, he's going back to his role of backup quarterback, and you have to be ready each and every week, and you don't know when that play is going to happen. But he proved that he can move the offense in the first quarter of the season, so whenever that opportunity presents itself, we know he can get the job done. But I do not expect a 2-quarterback package with both of those guys on the field at the same time.
But you'd like to see him on there for specialty occasions, and I think they might in the second half. Bryant, what do you think about Russell Wilson, what he brings to the table that maybe Justin Fields does not?
Experience. You know, in the words of Mike Tomlin, Russell has played a lot in the varsity league, to say the least. He's been around for quite some time, and we're starting to see that experience flourish before our eyes. And also, outside of the experience, one thing that I like with Russell when it comes to his game at the quarterback position, he is not afraid to attack the football field. He's not afraid to push the football down the field and try to create splash-like plays. Charlie talked about his deep ball and how accurate he's been. He's always been that guy. When you look at his prime years in Seattle, he was play action, taking shots down the football field. That's how he earned the nickname "Let Russ Cook," because he was cooking. Now that's what we're seeing. And another thing too, the last thing with Russell, when he understands, he identifies who his wide receiver 1 is, he is going to get him targets. That's what we're seeing with George Pickens. You go back with his heydays with DK Metcalf, he's going to force feed his top target the opportunities. I love that because George Pickens is him. Unfortunately, he hasn't really been seeing the targets that I think he's deserving of seeing. Since Russell has become the starting quarterback, OGPS, George Pickens score, that's his nickname I gave him. He has been living up to the billing.
He certainly has. All right, we talked offense. Next, we're going to switch gears to the defensive side of the football. Plenty to talk about over there as well. It's all coming up next right here as we continue with Steelers Kickoff.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Well, you know, before Monday's game, the Steelers teamed up with Roger Goodell and the NFL to surprise members of the Clairton varsity football team and their girls flag football team. Goodell was joined by Hall of Fame running back and Pittsburgh native Curtis Martin, where they discussed the future of flag football as a high school sport. They also congratulated the boys team on their current undefeated season. All right, let's switch to the defensive side of the football and look at the numbers so far. These are brought to you by Hyundai. In the top 10, 3 different categories here for the Steelers. That would be rush yards per game, total yards per game. They're 11th in third down percentage and very good in the third quarter specifically. So, Charlie, looking at those numbers, is this defense about where you thought they might be going in? Most people thought they'd have to be the heavy lifting of this team.
This is the strength of their team, right? And I think ultimately when you put all your money into the defensive side of the ball, I thought this defense would go as far as what Cam Hayward would go. And that means being back healthy, playing at an all-pro level. And when you look at that defense, second and run defense, that now makes the team one-dimensional on the passing game. And when you're able to do that, that allows your pass rushers to get involved. And that's why the domination is happening on the defensive side.
And you know, the Steelers' defensive backfield is going to get a little deeper starting next week when Cam Sutton returns from a suspension. So, Bryant, do you think Sutton could make an impact here for the rest of the season, and how does this affect young Beanie Bishop?
Oh, no question. When you have an opportunity to bring in an experienced player like Cam, that instantly improves you when it comes to depth. But right now, Beanie is cooking. I don't want to see any change up in the secondary because the young fella has really earned the right to be out there. He's become a big-time playmaker, and each week, guys, he's gotten better. So just having depth is always important because it is a long season. But right now, allow Beanie to do what he's been doing thus far.
Yeah, no question about that. Another player who will be back in the mix after the bye, we talked about it earlier, Nick Herbig. So how much does this help the outside linebackers if they need help already?
It helps with the rotation because he's a third man up, but he's done enough to now warrant Terrell Austin to now put him on the field as a third pass rusher, something you haven't seen before. So that just lets you know the confidence and the ability of Nick Herbig that he brings to this defense, that these coaches are very pleased.
No question, man. When he gets in there, he makes things happen as limited as his stats have been. We send the program now to New York City. James Brown is standing by with a preview of what's ahead on the NFL today right here on CBS. JB?
Hey, Bob, up next on the NFL today, Bo Nix and the Broncos ride into Baltimore for a meeting with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. We'll preview that matchup. And the guys decide which squads under 500 can turn their seasons around. Then we're joined live by Browns quarterback Jameis Winston, that for an exclusive In the Pads interview. And later, J.J. Watt breaks bread with Jim Harbaugh and friends out in L.A. But first, Coaches Guys, Bob and Charlie return when Steelers Kickoff continues right here on KDKA.
Steelers Kickoff is presented by Ford. The Ford F-150 is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the best-selling truck in Pittsburgh.
Welcome back. You know, everyone sees the Steelers arrive on game day looking sharp in those uniforms, but there is a lot that goes into the final product. Steelers Media Productions has a look inside the equipment manager's life on the Standard.
The climb out of the hole doesn't seem as far as it could be. Just 2,192 miles separates them and their next opportunity. To get them there, it takes a village, or at least a plan.
You know, it takes a lot to move a team across the country. What we'll do on Thursdays, we'll pull the bag out. That way we can throw their shoulders and knees and thighs in the bag, because on Fridays we don't wear full pads, just helmet practice. So what we'll do now on Fridays, we'll throw everything else in, their cleats, shower slides, personal running shoes, they need them, and then obviously their training jacket, anything they want to wear during the game and pregame. You know, weight room will throw in a couple different things they can use for rehab. For the most part, it's kind of all just the standard stuff all the way through. And at that point, we'll pack it all up. And then tomorrow morning's gonna be an early flight. So we get to the airport early. And we'll pack everything up on the plane, make sure everything's divided. Weights do matter on the plane, so we fly with about, usually about 17,000 pounds of equipment, changes during the season. So if it's like a February game or, December game indoors, changes what we actually pack. Fly with about 16,500 compared to, a winter game, it's about 17,500.
So when we get to a stadium, each equipment guy has like different areas of interest. We'll work with the visiting clubhouse staff to unpack all the bags for each player. So everything you see in the bag will go back into a locker, jersey set up. So we'll kind of just go right into action, hit the stadium running.
It's unbelievable how much work goes on behind the scenes for a NFL road trip. And Charlie, let's talk about that. Your favorite road trip during your many years on the NFL.
I always enjoy going to Tampa. And maybe they weren't in the division here. It reminds me of when I was in Detroit in the old NFC Central. They were in our division. It's always a great place to play because the weather is always fantastic.
Weather's a condition. What about you, Brian? Favorite place during your playing time with the Steelers?
Well, for me, it was a divisional matchup. Anytime we went to Cleveland, I really enjoyed playing in Cleveland. And here's why, basically because they're fans. They used to talk so much trash to us, and we used to always love the back and forth with them before the game started. But then instantly when the game started, they were quiet as a church mouse. And we really loved that as well because we were doing all the heckling. They weren't saying anything because by that time, Charlie, as you know, that game was already out of hand in our favor.
You couldn't have liked that locker room, though, over there in Cleveland. Anyway, getting closer to the Batch Foundation's In the Pocket event. It's coming up. So, Charlie, please give details.
Yes, with Best of the Batch Foundation, we're celebrating 25 years of our foundation, which we're an educational foundation. We focus on our STEAM programs and our after-school programs. So we're doing so with the fundraisers called In the Pocket with Charlie Batch, pool, poker, ping pong, in addition to unique silent auctions that we have throughout the evening. So if you want more information about it, this is happening Thursday, November the 14th. You can use the QR code, and you also can go to batchfoundation.org, and you'll see all the information to be a part of. So we just want to thank everybody who believes in the mission and vision of the Best of the Batch Foundation.
Play ping pong with Charlie Batch or anything else. Almost out of time here on Steelers Kickoff. We're back to wrap it up next on KDKA. All right, let's talk about the AFC North standings before we go. You see the Steelers on top, although Baltimore plays today. Most likely they'll be favored. Cincinnati, same way. Cleveland with a new quarterback, who knows? And if you look at down the road here, talking about strength of schedule, you'll see the Steelers and the Ravens. It's not going to get any easier. It's going to get tougher. So real quick, Charlie, do they have a chance to win the division? Yes or no?
Yeah, I believe the Steelers can win the division in this particular case. I don't believe the Bengals can at all, but either way, it's going to be tough overall.
What about you, Bryant?
Yeah, I'm right there with Charlie. I think we have a legit chance to win the division solely because of our defense. We have the best defense in the division, and we finally have an offense with a pulse. That's a great feeling, right?
No question about it. And they have 6 division games coming up in the second half of this season. Here's what we have on top for you today. It's the NFL Today on CBS. It follows at 1 o'clock. We have the Dolphins and the Bills. And then at 10:30 tonight, it's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. And then at 11:35 tonight, it's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's on KDKA. The sports call's on KDK+. So that's going to do it. Bryant McFadden, thanks very much. Charlie, as always, appreciate it. In the pocket, get your tickets and play ping pong against Charlie in this event. Good night, everyone. We'll see you later.